If you just got off the phone with mom or dad, and the second you brought up the stairs or the yard, or maybe selling the house, they shut you down, change the subject, or said something that really hit a nerve. I made this video for you. I'm Adam, Senior Transition Specialist, and over the years of helping families navigate exactly this transition, I've learned the conversation you're trying to have with your parents isn't really about real estate. It's about identity, about fear, about what your parents are not yet ready to lose. Before we go anywhere, I want to say one thing. You're not the villain in the story, although it may feel like that on some days. The fact that you're here watching a video like this means you're trying to do what is right. So let's slow down and actually unpack what's happening at the dinner table. Here's something I've come to understand after years of these conversations. Most objections you hear from your parents are not a definitive no. But, and this matters, they're also not nothing. The feelings behind every objection are real. When your mom says she'll die in this house, that's tied to memories of raising you, of a husband who may no longer be there, of a sacred wish to stay close to it all. We honor that. But underneath the surface objection, there is almost always a specific fear. And that specific fear, that's the one you can actually work with. So we're not trying to dismiss what your parents are saying. We're trying to translate it. Across nearly every family I worked with, the same six objection comes up. I'm not ready yet. We have way too much stuff to deal with. I'll die in this house. Where would we even go? The market is crazy. I can still handle the stairs and yard just fine. I'll only consider if I get my price. These sound universal, but here's the catch. The same words can come out of two different parents' mouth and mean two completely different things. Why? Because of personality. And that's where the framework comes in. I'll only consider if I get my price. Rarely means I want a number. It usually means I'm afraid of being taken advantage of. What will the neighbors think? Isn't about the neighbors. It's about not wanting to disappear socially. We have too much stuff. Usually means I'm paralyzed by the logistics. Same words, very different roots. I use a simple framework based on the disc profiles to identify what's really going on. Four archetypes, and don't worry if you haven't seen our deep dive video, here's a 30-second clip from that video. So the driver, the take charge parent, their identity is being in control. The influencer, the social, lively parent, their identity is their connections. The steady, the calm, routine loving parent, their identity is instability. The analytical, the careful, data driven parent, their identity is in being right. And here's an important note. Most families I work with are a mix. Dad is a driver, mom is steady. So you'll probably see both of your parents somewhere in this video. So let's go through how each archetype hides its fear inside these same six objections. First, the driver. Their biggest fear is losing control, losing their authority as the head of the family. When a driver says, I'll only consider if I get my price, or I'm not ready yet, or I can still handle the stairs just fine, they're not really arguing about the house. They're just protecting their identity as the person who calls the shots. The stairs are a stand in for autonomy. The price is a stand in for not being pushed. The strategy, the executive menu. Never push a driver. Give them options. Try this. Dad, I've laid out three different paths for the house. You're the CEO of this family. Which path do you want to authorize? Notice what just happened. You didn't give advice, you handed the steering wheel back. Next, the influencer parents. Their biggest fear? Becoming invisible, losing their social world. When an influencer says, "What will the neighbors think?" or "We won't have space to host family anymore," they're worried about disappearing. The house isn't a house to them, it's the center of their social identity. The strategy: pivot to lifestyle upgrades. Don't argue, change the frame. Try this. Mom, I totally agree. The house is part of who you are. And honestly, maintaining it is exhausting. If we found a place designed for entertaining, you can host the grandkids for holidays without doing all the yard work. We can expand your social life, not shrink it. That's a message an influencer will actually hear. Then the steady parent. Their biggest fear: chaos, disruption to routine. When a steady parent says, "We have too much stuff," or "I don't want strangers snooping around," they're not being difficult. They feel overwhelmed. The mountain of logistics is paralyzing. The strategy: the concierge, step by step. Don't ask them to deal with anything. Try this. I get it. The basement alone feels impossible. That's exactly why we bring in a team that handles packing, sorting, and logistics. You don't have to make any tough decisions. You just tell us what you want to keep, and we handle the rest. Remove the friction, and you remove the fear. Finally, the analytical parent. Their biggest fear: being wrong, making a financial mistake. Analyticals use data as a shield. They'll quote Zillow estimates, interest rates, what the neighbor sold for last spring. Don't take anything personally. The data is how they feel safe. So the strategy is the objective asset audit. Don't get emotional. Try this. Dad, I hear you on the market. So I've put together the last 24 months of maintenance, taxes, and insurance versus what we net from a sale if we sold the house. Can you check my math and see if you agree with my calculations? By inviting their analysis, you make them your partner in the decision instead of your opponent. Let me give you a real life example. A daughter, let's call her Karen, came to me about her 81-year-old father, classic driver. 2 near falls on the stairs in 3 months. His response every single time she brought it up: "I'm fine. I'll let you know when I'm ready." She tried logic. She tried tears. She even tried having the doctor weigh in. Nothing worked. So we changed the approach. Instead of arguing stairs, we sat down with him and said, "Dad, I'm not telling you what to do. I just want to make sure you have all the options on the table and that you're the one deciding. Can I lay out 3 paths?" He immediately said yes. 6 weeks later, he chose option 2, a single story townhouse in the same town on his own terms. That's the difference. Most real estate agents hear these objections and start debating. They push, they pressure, and they lose the family's trust. As specialized transition experts, we know these aren't arguments. They're requests for help. For the steady and influencer parents, we provide the concierge service that clears the clutter so they can breathe. For the driver and analytical parents, we provide the data-driven transparency so they can feel in control. We don't just sell houses. We facilitate the transition to your parents' actual needs. That's why I built the Safe Passage System, a 3-step framework designed around exactly this. Translate the fear behind every objection, concierge the logistics so the move doesn't feel like a mountain. Transparency is every number. So every decision feels informed instead of pressured. Same house, very different experience. If you're in the middle of one of these conversations right now and you're not sure what to do next, the most useful thing is to talk to somebody that actually has done this numerous times. I offer a free, no pressure strategy session, about 30 minutes on the phone, where we look at your specific situation and map out the next right steps. There's a link on the screen where you can schedule a call with me. And whatever you decide, please don't keep arguing the surface. Get curious about what's underneath. That's the conversation that finally gets through.